Hello there, welcome to the first race of the new year for the Asian Le Mans Series. It is round 2. I am Nadia Nash and thank you for joining us. We are racing here at the Bend in Adelaide, our first visit to Australia, and we are really happy to be here at this state-of-the-art motorsport facility, and of course honored to be the first to be racing the full course in its maximum 7.77 kilometer configuration. Now, we've had our much needed break from the opening round in Shanghai. It was the New Year's and Christmas, but now teams are back and they are ready to win those 4 invitations to the prestigious 24-hour of Le Mans. As evident from yesterday's qualifying session, it was full of incidents, it was eventful, 2 red flags, mind you, and just incidents to keep us at the edge of our seats. Now, on the grid today, we will be seeing Thunderhead Colin racing, starting in pole position thanks to Ben Barnicoat's flying lap in the Dallara. In LMP3 class, we will be seeing starting in pole position is car number 2 from Colin Racing, and in the GT class will be Hub Auto Corsa leading the pack. And teams will be competing in a 25-car grid today, 10 LMP2s, 7 LMP3s and 8 GT cars altogether. So talk about multi-class endurance racing, right? And of course, with a circuit that promises technical corners, fast-flowing sections, it is going to be fun to watch, and be sure there's going to be a lot of action in this 4-hour of the Bend. So all you have to do is sit back, hold tight and enjoy another round of the Asian Le Mans Series.
Stunning images from Southern Australia, which is where we are broadcasting live from. My name is Jeevan Sabanathan, and Graham Goodwin is with me in the commentary box, which we can now declare officially open for the 4 hours of the Bend.
This 4 hours, though, Jeevan, is actually going to take us to the halfway point of the season. We've already had the Agile Lohas World 4 hours of Shanghai, back-to-back with 4 hours of Sepang. That race is going to be into darkness in your home country, and then the following weekend, it's a really quick turnaround.
Just 1 week.
Absolutely, the 4 hours of Buriram in the Kingdom of Thailand.
What an honor it is to have the president of the Automobile Club, the US, Pierre Fillon, here with us. It's not always that we get you, so welcome to the Bend Motorsport Park in Australia. And of course, we want to know your first impressions about this exciting new addition to the Asian Le Mans Series.
So thank you, Nadia. First of all, I'm very pleased to be here in Thailand Bend, bringing the spirit of Le Mans to the Australian fan.
Right.
I have to say that I'm very impressed with the facilities, with the track, with the circuit, and with the excellent, the warm welcome we have received from the Australian fan. It's the first time that SEO has run an event in Australian, but if you remember, Don Panos created the race of the Millennium. Right. It was in the streets of Adelaide in 2000, and so 20 years later, we are back, yes. And I want to wish a great race for all the competitors, and I hope all the Austrian fans will enjoy the endurance Le Mans racing.
This is the Bend Motorsport Park. 7.77 kilometers in total and 35 turns means it's a challenge for the best of them. If we break it down into 3 sectors, Sector 1 from turns 1 to 7 starts with that 1 kilometer long straight, then weaves into a fast stretch between 4 and 6. Turn 7 starts Sector 2, which is much narrower. Very few overtaking opportunities here. That stretches all the way up to turn 24 and also includes the very tight double chicane between turns 17 and 20. Sector 3 opens up a little and gets a little faster with 3 mini straights between 29 and 30, 30 and 31, and 33 and 34 before turn 35 breaks 90 degrees to restart the lap.
What a 4 hours we had in prospect as the grid lined up. 24 cars would take the start for the first race of the season in the Asian Le Mans Series, the Agile Lohas World 4 hours of Shanghai. It was Roberto Meri, it was Aidan Reed rather, going for the lead. Battles up and down the order in GT. This car, the number 17 BMW, would take the lead midway through the race, and the Ferrari efforts, I'm afraid, were rather compounded by problems between themselves. Lamborghini, J-Lock, they were another team very much in the mix and took the lead too for substantial parts of the race, the number 88 car. The number 13 car coming into shot there, but in the background that was the number 90 FIS Team AI BMW out of the race with a dramatic incident for Zheng Shanchen. He's fine, the BMW wasn't. The 77 Aston Martin would take advantage of that and of problems later on for the J-Lock car with a pit lane penalty. The 77 car, the debut for the new shape, new power plant, Aston Martin would take the win. LMP3, well, was a battleground all afternoon. It was a run to the front from Alessandro Bressan at the start of the race. He led after starting 5th and would drive off into the distance in LMP3. That looked a foregone conclusion at one point, but then this. With Lancieri at the wheel coming in, looks like an electronics problem or figure trouble. That car sat stationary as the cars went back to green. That handed a dominant lead to the number 13 Inter Europol competition, Ligier, Nigel Moore and Martin Hipper, defending champions, the number 13 crew, and they would come home for a dominant win in the junior LMP class. LMP2 though would serve out some astonishing performances and some astonishing entertainment. A 7-car Gibson engined grid with the Thunderhead Colin Dallara fending off the close attentions of all. This was the determining move though, balked by yellow flag period up the inside of the anti-penultimate corner. Up the inside went Harry Tinknell down the main straight to win from the previous leader, the 26 Algarve operated G-Drive branded Aurus by 0.378 of a second. Thunderhead by Colin take their first ever LMP2 win anywhere.
There was drama post-race though when the car that took the checkered flag received a time penalty, the Colin team having made an error on driving time for Ben Barnicoat. That dropped the number 45 Dallara down to 3rd. The number 26 Aurus 01 from G-Drive by Algarve takes the win, the first Russian team to win in the Asian Le Mans Series. Philippines-based Eurasia's number 36 Ligier takes 2nd. Here's the grid. In LMP2, Thunderhead Colin Racing take their first ever pole position. Eurasia Motorsport also on the front row of the grid. RLR M Sport take the LMP2 AM pole in 6th. In LMP3, Nielsen Racing take pole in 11th. And in GT, Hub Auto Corsa lead in 16th, ahead of Car Guy, Spirit of Race, T2 Motorsports, and the 2nd Nielsen car.
Yes, Jack's going to start the race for us. He's been doing great all weekend. We've been on the simulator learning the track, and great to be here in South Australia in real life.
And for the Asian Le Mans Series first trip to Australia to the Bend Motorsport Park, it would be 3 15-minute qualifying sessions. GTs out first, and Jens Klingmann in the number 17 Aston Veloce Motorsports BMW would be in the mix. He'd finish the session 3rd quickest. The Car Guy, defending champions, and the returning Côme Ledogar to the team. They would be in contention too for pole position, but ultimately they'd make the front row, but not the top of the shop this time. That was because after a torrid time in Shanghai, the number 27 Hub Auto Ferrari in the hands of Ferrari factory driver Davide Rigon would put in the telling time and therefore the qualifying lap record around this Bend Motorsport Park. It would be a 2:56.109 for the 27 car, pole position for Hub Auto Corsa. It'd be a bit of a disjointed LMP3 session. Quick red flag and Colin Noble there keeping cool as they got the cars underway. David Drew would be in contention for pole position in the Graf Racing number 9. Norma would be frustrated at the end, feeling he was balked by another car. So it meant Alessandro Bressan, dominant at Shanghai, would come through to 2nd position, but to do nothing about Colin Noble, the young Scot in the number 2 Nielsen Racing car, his first ever pole position in LMP3. Normally, the gentleman driver takes on those duties in Europe. Here, it was the Scot that took the glory. It would be a 2:50.802 for Noble and the number 2 Nielsen Racing car. Then it was time for the big guys, LMP2 and LMP2 AM. The mixed field again, of the older and the newer generation. The first time that an Australian audience has got to see these cars live, and much did they enjoy it. Early session, and another red flag, and then one looking like on his way to pole position. The first time of asking, Ben Barnicoat running wide in the Thunderhead Carling car. LMP2 AM, when they got back running, would go to the RLR Tour events, Orica 05, and Arjun Mani. Nick Cassidy came close, but couldn't quite grab the pole position for the number 1 car, the Eurasia Racing New Zealand. That's because the pole position eventually went. Thunderhead Carling Dallara would go to pole position. They'll be waiting for the red lights to go, and they go, and we are racing at the Bend Motorsport Park for the very first time in ECO rules racing. Jack Manchester goes right down the middle. You've got cars either side, the one to the inside, Daniel Gaunt looking for the outside line, but it looks to me like, has Jack Manchester held it, or is he going to move him back down to second? 26 car in third position, the Aurus. 36 goes by 34. It is the number 1 car, followed by the 35, then 26, 36, and 34. Team New Zealand, or rather Eurasia Racing New Zealand, to the fronts. Jack Manchester under pressure immediately, again from James French in the number 26 car. So 1 from 45 and 26, looking for a way around James French, the more experienced driver in a prototype here. Still tight stuff here between the top 5 cars. Tara Vent's car in the hands of Arjun Mani, hanging on in there with the newer Gibson-engined prototypes. He heads the little train of LMP2 AM cars. 4 of those, of course, we have here, 3 Ligiers and an Orica. Someone off in the background, some dust kicked up there as they come into this flick flag 18 to 20. What Jack Manchester was talking about a little earlier, 1 line through there in traffic. We're not going to get into traffic quite yet. A shot of one of the LMP2 AM Ligiers from Ware Racing. New look driver squads in both of those cars.
And that was a great start from Eurasia Motorsport. Just taking that initial turn in nicely and cutting the Thunderhead Carling Racing team back 1 spot.
Daniel Gaunt is getting away a little here and is pulling clear of the Dallara just a touch, as Jack Manchester's got his mirrors full of the Aurus 01. ARC Bratislava coming to the end of the pit straight, the end of their first lap. First flying lap, by the way, for the lead car. Daniel Gaunt was a 2:47.299. Of course, that's off, including up from the start.
And that is one of the... There it is. Have a look at that. That is number 33.
Oh, dear me. It wasn't 33.
That hit the curb.
They hit the curb at a bit of an airborne moment there. Was that John Corbett, I think, starting that car?
It is indeed John Corbett in the P217, yes.
So John had a bit of a moment, got the car wide, and trying to get back on the circuit. Repeat, well, he's only 2 laps, remember, 2:43.906, the lap time for Daniel Gaunt. He's now a second clear of Jack Manchester, who's still got his mirrors full of James French. Aidan Reed into 4th, and Kubishmovsky a couple of seconds back in 5th place into Europol car. Arjun Mani is making hay in the LMP2 AM class. He leads pretty convincingly. 10 seconds to good from Cody Ware. Anthony Lazzaro has gone by John Corbett after that incident for the 33 car. That makes it 1, 2, 3 in formation, with John Corbett falling back into the clutches of Mira Konopka. Then we get into LMP3, Martin Hipper with his mirrors full of Tony Wells' Nielsen racing car, Eric Trullier in the Graf Norma in 3rd position. They're in pretty close formation. And then Liam Talbot is getting away from the field in the Evo Ferrari. He is 7 seconds to the good, and with the Ace 1 Velour Corsa Ligier between them in GT. So it's a Ferrari 1-2, but up to 3rd has come the Aston Martin Vantage. That's a cracking start from Tomonobu Fuji in the D-Station Racing number 77 car. That car up to 3rd in GT from 7th in class at the start and 18th overall.
And let's not forget, D-Station Racing have already a win under their belt from Shanghai, thanks to that retirement from J-Lock in the first race. Only drivers so far to have actually broken into that 2:43 Time 2:44, 2:44, 2:44, all the way up to 5th with Kubushima-Hovsky, and then, well, yeah, it's 2:44 and a 2:46 that takes us up into LMP2 out.
We've had a couple of early pit stoppers as well, by the way, with Dominic Ang bringing in the Viper Nisa racing car. That car is still in pit lane. J-Lock's Lamborghini, remember, dominant at Shanghai as Jack Manchester puts a wheel in the dirt. Won't have helped his. Oh no, off for the lead car.
Just too
running
fast
wide there. That's going to give Jack Manchester an opportunity to get on the tail of Daniel Gaunt. He's looking around the outside. Can he make it? Not quite room there, but that's given James French the opportunity to catch up. So it was a mistake from Daniel Gaunt there.
And what a mistake! All those 3 cars just waiting to pounce,
but didn't quite manage to gather up enough momentum.
I think it was
Jack
shocked
Manchester.
they didn't expect it.
But he'd run wide out of the previous turn. So Manchester right with Daniel Gaunt now. I think it was just the tarmac runoff, so I don't think he's got a problem with dirt on the tyres. Not that we saw at
that
least.
gap has now absolutely shrunk to nose to tail, and this could be the time that Thunderhead Colin racing team makes its move.
Let's keep an eye. What did happen there to Daniel Gaunt? Let's take another look. Let's see what we've got there. Daniel Gaunt there. Oh, big wiggle, big lockup. It was just the runoff. Almost spun it.
Wow,
Managed to
held
the
it well
together. So actually, after making the mistake, good car control from Daniel Gaunt, but that's not going to done his Michelin tyres any good. The lockup was what caused it. Slippery conditions there by the look of it. Up the inside looks James French, and all of a sudden, what it looked to be a pretty dominant position for Daniel Gaunt is all of a sudden given us a 5-car nose-to-tail battle for the lead of this race, just 12 minutes in.
And that was a 2:47. Because of that little run out, he's just put in a 2:47. That's what's allowed these cars, these other 3 cars of Thunderhead, G-Drive and Eurasia to close up so dramatically.
That's 4 seconds lost on that lap from Daniel Gaunt, both to the mistake and also then in defence of his lead. Jack Manchester can sniff there's an opportunity here. He'll be running to a strategy that's been given to him by the team. That amongst those opportunities, I guess, is if there is an opportunity with no risk to take the lead, but he'll be being asked to just keep as many many positions as he possibly can until we get Ben Barnicoat and Harry Tinknell in the car. He's doing a great job of it. Great job. Not many LMP2 races under the belt of Jack Manchester. Had some dreadful luck in the European Le Mans Series in this car. Missed out on a lot of potential track time, but at the moment putting in a convincing run. Daniel Gaunt, though, will have, I'm sure, got the heart rate going there with that moment. Fantastic start from the Kiwi.
Now, one thing I do have to say, that little flick-flack you were talking about between turns 18 and 20, it might be trouble for the drivers, but it's fantastic for the neutral viewer that's watching. It looks beautiful.
I have to say, coming from the camera angle we got from high up there, does look pretty wide. It doesn't look like that from kind of ground level, I can tell you, in the passenger seat.
You've been in the car this week, haven't you?
Indeed, and it does. It's one line through there without a shadow of a doubt. And once we start to get to the stage where we've got these guys in
back
traffic,
markers, it's going to be very interesting to see.
Should say, by the way, the other car in the pits we said was the J-Lock car. Both those cars have been in the pits now for 9.5 minutes. So trouble for both the J-Lock Lamborghini and indeed for the Viper Nisa Racing
Well,
car.
heart goes out to Viper Nisa Racing, of course, the Malaysian team. Dominic Ang did have to start at the pretty much at the back of the grid.
And I've been told that it was contact between J-Lock and 2 of the P3s. The Viper Nisa Racing car, very likely one of those. Both will be back out soon.
Now, J-Lock, of course, as Graham pointed out, really had a stranglehold on that Shanghai. As we see a number of cars pick up a bit of dirt just off on that front left wheel, but did have a number of troubles in the end of that 4 hours of Shanghai. They were leading, they got a penalty. That's what led to D-Station winning that GT class in that race. And now it's looking highly unlikely, unless they can really get that car out quickly, that they are going to make an impact on him. Meanwhile, Daniel Gaunt has now hit the pedal again.
He does.
And he's going 2:42. First driver to hit 2:42.512.
2:42.512 takes half a second out of Jack Manchester on that lap. Jack Manchester pulling back a couple of tenths in the final sector, putting a purple sector in for the Dallara, so he's not hanging around. That GT class, by the way, we've got a great battle underway at the moment for second place. The 75 car from T2 Motorsports is being caught by Fuji in the number 77 Aston Martin, a battle for second place there. Aiden Reed pushing hard. He's just put in a purple sector for this first sector. They're all trying to hang on to Daniel Gaunt. And here we are, by the way, 5 laps under our belts now, 15 minutes into this race. They have not yet caught traffic. That's how long this track is.
Now that looks like a big puff of smoke that's just
dust,
hanging.
Dust in the air.
That's just dust in the air from somebody that's run off. And that is a look at the Viper Racing team.
About to get back into the race by the look of things. Have a quick look at a replay here. That was the number 33 car with another moment for John Corbett.
We're looking at the timing screens. T2 Motorsports and David Tiptoe Biantoro still not registered on track yet. Let's have a look back and see exactly how serious that that runoff track was. Here he is. Well, there he is, stuck in the. Oh wow, he's absolutely dug up there.
Was he helped? There doesn't seem to be a mark on the car.
That's a good shot of all the amount of pickup and dust that you can get on there.
And several places too. That puts the Aston Martin up into second position, 15 seconds back from Leon Talbot in the Borto Corsa car. So it is the 27 from the 77. Then car guy, Takeshi Kimura, is up in the third position. Down to fourth now goes the T2 Motorsports car.
A little bit easier.
Traffic.
I'm sure it's traffic, yeah.
There is Liam Talbot, who's our dominant leader in GT. Liam already a class winner at the Bathurst 12 Hour. And indeed a class winner in the Blancpain GT Championship in their AM class.
One of the Australian drivers at many Australian drivers that have come down to grace this event this weekend.
Yep, and he replaces Maurice Chen, the car owner in the Hoogenboom Corsa car. They're thoroughly looking forward to the challenge here, and I'm sure he'll have a big wide smile on his face if he finishes his stint anything close to where he is right now.
And some of these shots, you can just see the heat haze now radiating off the track. This will be, of course, the longest time that any of these drivers, not yet, but later on in this afternoon, longest time that they've spent out in that heat. There were free practices, yes. There was qualifying, yes, all roughly about an hour. But this is going to really test how these drivers can circulate and cycle themselves.
Well, the other point to make is that they didn't really have very much track time in the real searing heat earlier in the week. It was actually
a bit overcast.
It was overcast the first time we were on track. Then we had heavy rain for the second session, and certainly nothing like the 30-degree heat plus that we're seeing today for free practice and qualifying. It was getting towards it. I seem to recall that whilst it was bright sunshine, it was about 22 degrees. Drama's at the back of the track, meanwhile, and that is...
Big drama. That looks like Colin.
That is not... Oh, is that the Colin car?
That looks like the Dallara.
It is the Colin car.
We have got Douglas Koo from Viper Racing here with us. Yes, we saw the car in the pits just now, but it's back out already. But we want to know from you what happened just now.
I think in the first lap, I think there was some contact with either one of the GT cars. So we had to replace the nose. We also found that we were actually overheating, so there was a radiator hose that was needed to replace, so we had to do that. So hopefully the car continues without overheating, and well, we'll see.
So full course yellow starts this second. That will, I'm sure, be for debris. We saw some debris, we think, from the rear of Jack Manchester's car. We've got the 25 Ware Racing car. This is Guy Cosmo.
Plenty of incidents we've seen in P2 right at the start of the race. We've only half an hour in. Start of the race, we've had number 33 car was off. The of course the Dallara hit as well. Couple of GTs hit. Couple of GTs off track.
Indeed, and that was a little bit of repositioning of both the cars. Apologies, not Guy Cosmo. Anthony Lazzaro started that car. Okay, in comes the leader. Daniel Gaunt rolls to a halt with James French right behind him. So the lead two cars. They're just 5 minutes outside their pit window, so that's probably good enough.
Yeah.
They'll gain here by doing this while they know they've still got a full course yellow to play with. And now it's a matter of whether or not the other lead cars can come around and take that opportunity. Eurasia's 36 car will take the lead by dint of staying out. So it is a Ligier lead from two Normas, both the Nielsen racing cars. Hipper, Wells, Charles Cruz, moving on and along at a pace in fourth place. Jack Manchester's time's a little off what we would have expected. No doubt that will be because of the damage. And trouble there for one of the Ware cars. Through the dust.
That's huge trouble
That
once
is
again, and he
the
spins it
25
out.
car. So that is...
Anthony Lazaro.
It is indeed second in the class at that point. Here's a 25. Comes across the BMW. Looks up the inside and actually just trying to go up the inside and loses the rear of the car. Does he brush the BMW? He does hit the BMW. So that was Lazaro looking for a way by the BMW. I think was trying to let him by. And Anthony, I think, just got the power in a little too early, slid the back, they lost the back end of the car and just nudged the BMW off the track. Well, no little drama to come from a blazingly warm grid at the Bend Motorsport Park in South Australia. Just an hour and a half out of Adelaide. Away they went on a very long formation lap, something like 3 minutes to get around to start the far eyes of the bend. Jack Manchester initially looking to defend to the inside, but that gave Daniel Gaunt and the number 1 Ligier the opportunity in the room to take the lead around the outside. After that, it was about Daniel Gaunt trying to get away. Jack Manchester trying to retain second place as the 34 car looked to get advantage too. Trouble for the J-Lock car, the Lamborghini in the pits. T2 Motorsports Ferrari as well to get Tiptoe Biantoro with an off, costing them second position. That meant that there was a dominant lead for the number 27 Hub Auto Ferrari, the international debut of the Evo version. Damage to the 77 Aston Martin after a clash with Jack Manchester's out of control Dallara. And a couple of offs as well for a number of other players, including Peter Padden in the number 14 Ligier. The 65 car involved in an incident early on with the J-Lock car, cooling and bodywork difficulties there. Arjumani, dominance in LMP2 AM from the start of the race, dominance in LMP3. Martin Hipper in the all-conquering, it seems, 13 into Europol Ligier. Marnie, Indian driver in the car that's bearing tribute to the efforts of the Aussie firefighters at present. There's bushfires around this fair country. We get into a full course yellow, and amongst the cars taking an early opportunity to get fuel were both of the Ware racing cars, caught out by the BMW breaking through the turn. Anthony Lazaro, the one surviving driver, if you like, from the race for 1,000 years, backs the car into the BMW. John Corbett having a bit of a moment off track and over the curbs early in the race. There's Daniel Gaunt going wide, almost losing the race lead early on in the number 1 car, but not quite ceding the position to then 33 car, another car amongst a number having difficulties. 45 car, that was the incident that caused the front bodywork damage for the 77 car. Pit stop under full course yellow from the number 1 car. Early and slightly out of sequence, briefly had the 36 car into the lead. That was handed back to the number 1 car. Now in the hands, still alive in the hands of Daniel Gaunt. 21 laps for the GT3 leader. So they, in terms of off for the second place car, John Ferrano off the track.
And quite significantly as well. We've seen a couple of cars go off at that corner.
Now, did he just run off, or has he been into the barrier?
Here it is. That's exactly what happened. Well,
he ran through the gravel trap, and no, is that the initial? I think that's the initial incident from which he got moving, and then ran off again at the next turn. So I think he'd run through the gravel, stopped, then ran off again with dust all over the tyres. I should say, by the way, while that's been happening, we've had a drive-through penalty dealt to the number 45 car for that incident with 77.
So that RLR M Sport car, that of course sporting that livery that's supporting the Australian firefighters, right? That yellow at the front of the car and at the side of the car as well. That's a great initiative. And while we're actually talking about that, many of you will be aware those fires still burning. The Bend Motorsport Park might not be affected, but we are aware, everyone here is aware of the heartbreaking impact of those fires, and the ACO and the Australian Red Cross and the Asian Le Mans Series have partnered together and set up a website. Make your donations. Both the ACO and the Asian Le Mans Series have already made theirs.
Yep, a fine cause and lots of distress. I know, loss of life, human life, lots of flora and fauna. But there is the web link.
And there is that website address down at the bottom of your screen. Please get involved and do make a donation towards that.
So back onto the action. Car Guys number 7 car as the lead car with the pit stop for why is so I'm just checking as to how have we got a change in the lead in GT. Car Guy to the lead in GT, but both cars have stopped. Yellow flags at turn 14, by the way, so we've got an incident out there at the moment. So the Car Guy, with Kimura-san at the wheel, has taken the lead. Now, I'm just looking as to how that could have happened, because there's not a great deal of difference in terms of the pit stop time. It can only be because Car Guy took a pit stop under yellow, which I think they probably did. Well, we got some bad news, good news right now. Bad news is Jivan's taking his leave from us for 15 minutes or so. The good news, and it's particularly good news for me, I have to say, is I'd like to welcome to the microphone an old mate, a bit of an Aussie battler himself, Richard Craill. Crailsy, welcome to the Asian Le Mans Series. Welcome. I'm welcoming you to the bend. I guess it should be you welcoming me.
Thank you, Graham, and welcome to the bend on behalf of all of our South Australians that are here. Great to be with you. Thanks to you, to Jivan as well for jumping aside for a minute so we can talk South Aussie and Australian motor racing. What a race it's been so far. How intense was that first 10-minute period with the LMP2 cars carving each other up like it was a 15-minute sprint?
Pretty bonkers. I mean, so many off-track moments for so many cars. They're clearly finding conditions here very tough. It does seem to be a bit slippery. It does seem a bit edgy off the racing line. We've heard from everybody today and through the weekend that it's one racing line, certainly through this extension, which is, I'm guessing, the part of this track you've had least experience of. We have seen some racing there, but certainly not racing at this kind of level. The other car off to the right-hand side, by the way, that looked as if it might be the number 3 car. And in fact, Charlie Cruz is indeed late to the party. So I think the number 3 car is off the track, stopped off track at turn 14, I'm told there. Yes, so number 3 car in trouble. It's not been a great weekend. There it is. The black Nielsen racing car.
From third in LMP3 at the time, so that's pretty significant, isn't it, in what's a pretty tightly fought battle. It's been really impressive as an outsider coming into the Asian Le Mans Series how intense the competition is in each class, and that's part of the joy of this multi-class racing where you get fantastic battles all the way through the field fighting for their own class trophies.
Absolutely. Now, this entry will just go through the traumas of this crew through the weekend. Let's have a look at just how this came about, and that is the number 1 car by the look of it, at the inside of 2 of those machines. And that's the number 1 car going off. That is the lead car having a bit of an off-track moment. Now that has allowed James French to close up a little bit. That's the number 3 car. That's the LMP3 machine.
Full Holden Racing Team uniform. That's his main team in the Supercars Championship. That's his day job. Races GT cars and prototypes in between it.
We're going to be going back to green very quickly, though.
So they need to get a wriggle on with this pit stop and get the car back out while it's still under full course yellow, because otherwise they're going to be chucking away time. Interesting to note, as Dan Gaunt jumped out of that car, hobbling around, left foot off the ground, I think he's got massive cramp down his left leg.
Wouldn't at all surprise me. We know the Vipanisa racing car was in. What have we got there? It's a fire for the RLR car, and a big fire at the rear of the RLR car.
And there's some irony that that's the car that so brilliantly has been supporting the firefighters all weekend. They've gone full livery in support of the Australian bushfires, but they're going to have to put out a bushfire here at the moment. They've got right off the racing line, but full course yellow almost guaranteed, and hopefully the driver can get out here.
John Ferrano, I could see getting out the door, falls out the car, gets out as quickly as he possibly can. Marshall's on the scene immediately. They'll be looking to do what they can about that. So that started quite a while ago. It's a big fire, and I've no doubt whatsoever there's going to have to be a reaction from race control to that.
Car number 1 right here, Daniel Gaunt. We want to know, how was your stint, and how did you make it to the top and still maintaining?
Oh, I was very fortunate, you know, to be paired up with Nick Cassidy and Shane van Gisbergen for this weekend, and you know, Nick put the car P2 and managed to get the lead off the start. So, you know, when your teammates do such a good job and put you up the front, it's necessarily easy, but makes it easier.
Coming off the
lead change. Lead change immediately. That is Leonard Hoogenboom takes the opportunity to go immediately by Aidan Reid. Jack Manchester is going to look now to see whether or not he can unlap himself from the 36 car. Looks to the outside. There'll be no way through there. They'll be watching as well. That was a big twitch there from Jack on the limit on the outside. Don't think there was any touch there.
No.
That was just basically not finding the grip he thought there would be. Gathered up nicely though. The challenge here for Jack Manchester is to get by the 36 and the 26 to stay on the lead lap.
1 second between them, those two Ware racing cars.
I'm going to see just exactly what's happening here with the GT class. Where is the car guy?
The Hub Autocross. There's Marcos Gomez is leading the GT class at the moment.
So he's a lap up on the 51 car that's behind him, but just in the background, there you go, is the flash of yellow. There's the car guy car. Interesting one. The Ace 1 Valour Corsa team have clearly opted to stay firmly with their pit stop strategy on the hour or thereabouts. Now that means they're going to be pitting under full green conditions. This is the lead car, or was the lead car. I think will remain the lead car in LMP3, because looking at this, have they got a lap lead as well from that safety car? They might well have done. Well, car guy into the mix in GT. Combination of fast running from the car plus the full course yellows, the safety car we saw later in the hour. Hour led by the 27 Hub Auto Corsa car, brand new Evo version. First and off for the 59. Now, I wonder whether or not debris from that might have played a part in what happened later for this car. A couple of offs for John Ferrano. Whether or not debris picked up in those offs may have played a part. Number 3 car brought out caution. Failure for the rebuilt Nielsen racing car. Ace 1 Valour Corsa came into the mix and led the race. And real drama as John Ferrano suffered a pretty significant fire to the left rear of the Oreca 05, having led LMP2 Arjun Maini. As the car owner climbing out of the car, rolling away. Excellent efforts of the marshal to deal with that fire. Up the inside from the number 1 car. It slid wide there from Daniel Gaunt, maybe a little overzealous from the Kiwi, but shouldn't take away from the fact that there's a stellar stint from him before handing over to Shane van Gisbergen. You can see there just how hard he was trying, cramping in the left foot. Van Gisbergen, the V8 Supercar star, stepping back in. On the safety car, we'd get the pack closed right back up again. Good news for some, bad news for others. And as the race went back to green flag running, up and into the lead, Leonard Hoogenboom in the number 26 car, our Shanghai leader, back into the lead here at the bend on the very first race we've had on this 7.7 kilometre circuit, G-Drive.
You'd have to say, Graham, looking back at those highlights, this has really played into the hands of G-Drive Racing by Algarve completely. That was a perfect move by Leonard Hoogenboom.
We've got Alessandro Bressan here with us, telling us how was your stint, and of course you can talk a bit about Lancieri's.
I went in for second as a second driver in my stint, and to be honest with you, my only job was to go in and push for an hour, so try to do my best. And I mean, when I got out of the car, we were leading, so I think it's good. We didn't have the best of starts, so we were expecting a little better from the start, but I think that the team is working great with the strategy, to be honest, because my stint was flawless, aside from the full course yellow and the safety cars, you know. But no, I'm happy with my stint.
This is the very first experience Shane van Gisbergen has had of LMP2 machinery,
you're right.
of any LMP machinery, of any real downforce car.
And he's pushing it to the max.
He's absolutely hammering on here. Leonard Hoogenboom, already a title winner in LMP3 machinery. He's had experience in the Ligier LMP2 in the European Le Mans Series, and coming to this Aurus effort with Algarve Pro Racing, combining with G-Drive Racing for the Asian Le Mans Series, a race winner already, of course, at Shanghai.
Now, Shane getting closer and closer, and there are plenty of his fans that have turned up here. I can tell you now, a lot of people have been waiting to see him in action. Wasn't in action in qualifying. A lot of people expected that as well, but now he's really putting on all the show he needs to as he gets closer and closer to Leonard Hoogenboom.
A right-hander in these cars, well over 200 kilometres an hour, and then try and get the aero assist, the toe, into what is the biggest stop up here at turn 1. And that was almost a Ferrari taking out the race leader.
But that's going to give Van Gisbergen the run. He's got a quicker run through the corner. Has he got the momentum to do anything about it as they come into this right-hander? Almost took a sniff there. I think he might have got him here. No, not quite. A cracking stuff from both these drivers.
That was Hoogenboom just going a little bit too late into turn 6, which is a really difficult, slightly off-camber hairpin. One of the biggest stops at the racetrack. He went a little bit deep. He was caught out with that BMW. I think just trying to maximise that little bit of an advantage he got with the lap car.
Drama in through the door after you.
I feel terrible for G-Van because he's missing all the good bits. I've just been handed all the good stuff. Although it's been compelling the whole way through, it's got to be said, and they pit.
There you go. So bails out of that and into the pits. So Leonard Hoogenboom will breathe a sigh of relief, I'm sure. And that gives us the opportunity as we look at the car completing its 44th lap.
It's the centenary of
With
South Australia becoming a state. It was won by an MG, of all things, on an 11-minute handicap. It was a handicap race, and that was run on a road circuit about 45 minutes from here, down on the coast, seaside town called Victor Harbour and Port Elliot. Lovely part of the world, great tourist location. And the GT cars are going at it here into the East Circuit pit lane area of the Bend Motorsport Park.
That is the lead car in the GT class, Cozzolino, trying to deal with the 16 car, I think, G1. And he's hit him. He hits him from the rear. Oh dear. Now, is that going to have further consequences for Cozzolino? He was looking to get by the lapped car. Ware Racing go to work on the number 52 car. That car came in from the lead in LMP2 AM in the hands of young Gustas Grinbergas. Ludicrously young Gustas, 17 years old now, raced at 16 years old in LMP3 with the Oregon team. So in terms of the class order, the 12 car here, the LMP3 car from Ace 1 Valois Corsa is indeed into the lead, but is being reeled in by Colin Noble, who's at the moment 3 seconds a lap quicker. Into the third hour of the 4 hours of the Bend, and it started with a bit of bump and grind, and in this case the bump once and just about to be twice here came from Cozzolino, punting the number 16 car off and into the gravel and punting himself in for a chat with the race director and what would become a drive-through penalty for what had been the lead car. That put the 27 car back into the lead of the race in time for Davide Rigon to climb aboard the number 27 Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo, the Evo version racing for the first time in GT3 form today. The 52 car, Gustas Grinbergas, making his way through and past the 65 car, and Dominic Ang aboard the car had a little bit of a whoopsie watching the mirrors for maybe a second or two too long. 12 car in contention for honours in LMP3. It was Gabriele Lancieri aboard that car before pitting, put the car in the hands of David Fulminelli, and Colin Noble pulling back the advantage on the Italians to take the lead for Nielsen Racing. Looking good in LMP2 AM for Ware Racing. Ware Racing 1-2 at the moment, the 52 car in the hands of Grinbergas, 17-year-old Lithuanian, leading that race ahead of the sister car, the 25 car in the hands of Guy Cosmo through the hour. At the end of the hour, leads him by 63 seconds. Meantime, it's been a cracking battle up front between the 26 car with Leonard Hoogenboom, Shane Van Gisbergen harassing the young Dutchman with the number 1 Ligier all the way through the stint, tried, almost made it by, but the Aurus would come out ahead right up until we got through to the next pit stop cycle. Every moment in traffic must have been a heartbreaker for the number 26 man. Eurasia opted to put Van Gisbergen into the pits, stumbled on the starter, but ultimately that strategy, as the full course yellow came out, proved to be the best one. Short stop for the Eurasia car, gave them an advantage on track. But as we sit at the moment, with Nick Cassidy being allowed by Roberto Merri to continue the attack, it's going to come down to the last stops in this race, coupled to the pace that's available from the leading cars. It's going to make the determination of who is going to be the very first winner of the 4 hours of the bend. Up the inside of, he goes wide to allow it through, and he's going to go straight into the wall here.
36 Eurasia Motorsport just went past the leader in the LMP2 class. That's Gustas Grinbergas, the young Lithuanian. Ware Racing car doing much better in this second round than they did in the first round. Now they've got their team up to speed.
Don't need tyres at this point. There's a possibility you might need a tyre or 2 tyres. Doesn't appear to be tyres ready. Yes, there are tyres ready. But no, tyres just ready as a precaution. That's the technician saying okay or not okay. Sam Cox there, blonde lady, team manager here. Stuart Cox in the front of the car. Fuel only.
Yep,
and the car is rolling.
Nice, quick, efficient.
Where is the Ligier? Not on the start-finish straight yet. There is the number 2 car, Colin Noble. That's the LMP3 leading car. It's a matter of exactly where in the final sector, because it's another long sector, remember.
That should be it for car guy. David Rigon currently in second spot. It sounds horrible. He's coming into the pits, and this could be after what was a glittering run from all 3 drivers in this car, and this car just really performing really well.
Because what I hadn't noticed is the car that crossed the line wasn't Nick Cassidy, it was Nick Foster. It's this 36 car, the number 1 car. I think that's game over.
Wow, this is going to be heartbreak for that team. They've watched this car. Daniel Gaunt, Shane Van Gisbergen both put in absolutely blinding stints, and they are rolling it into the garage with 6 minutes left on the clock. 3 hours and 54 minutes that car has been running, and now out for the count. That's what it's all about.
They have run fault-free, and all credit, by the way, to the Algarve Pro Racing team. They've turned the car around faultlessly, and to all 3 drivers who've driven well. We did see the car Nick Cassidy actually getting alongside and through briefly, but then some great defensive driving from as he takes the checkered flag for the win for the number 26 G-Drive Racing by Algarve.
And that's a great shot there.
Very happy indeed with that.
Here are the results. In LMP2, after another huge battle over 4 hours, G-Drive Racing by Algarve, Eurasia Motorsport and Thunderhead Carlin Racington take the podium spots, with Inter Europol in 4th. It's a 1-2 for Ware Racing in LMP2 AM, ahead of ARC Bratislava in 3rd. No points for Shanghai winners RLR M Sport, who were forced to retire. LMP3 saw a win for Nielsen Racing, with Inter Europol finishing in 2nd, and Ace 1 Villoba Corsa taking 3rd spot, ahead of the 2nd Inter Europol number 14, which is 4th in class, but 17th overall. And in GT, it's a return to form for defending champions Car Guy, who take the win after a great fight with Hub Auto Corsa and Spirit of Race taking 2nd and 3rd.
After almost 20 years, sports car racing was back down under at the Bend Motorsport Park, a brand new venue for a brand new era. At the start, it would be the Eurasia Racing New Zealand car that would take the lead through turn 1. In GT, there was trouble early on for the number 77 Aston Martin, trouble too for the number 16 BMW. That cost the Car Guy Ferrari a drive-through penalty. Not enough, though, to stop the defending champions from taking the race win, part of the 1-2-3-4 for the Ferraris that dominated today. Complete turnaround from Shanghai. In LMP3, there's trouble for the number 14 Ligier, a broken brake line, a spin, one of many, I'm afraid, for the number 65 Vipanisa Racing Ligiers, and trouble too for the Graf Racing Norma late in the race, with rear-end damage ending their day. The win, though, would go to the Nielsen Racing number 2 of Tony Wells and Colin Noble. In LMP2 AM, there was drama for the early race leaders as the RLRM Sport Orica of John Ferrano and Arjun Mani burst into flames. Ferrano was okay. That left a dominant 1-2 for the Ware Racing pair. The 52 car, Gustas Grinbergas, just 16 years old, and Cody Ware coming through to take the win. Drama's an LMP2 as well. This for the number 33 Inter Europol Ligier. This for what was then the leading car with Daniel Gaunt, the number 1, almost losing the lead to the Dallara until Jack Manchester had his own dramas. More drama for Daniel Gaunt as he faded toward the end of the stint. He would climb out the car with severe cramp as Shane van Gisbergen climbed aboard the number 1 Ligier. Into the mix came the number 26 Aurus, and that would go into battle with the 2 Eurasia Ligiers, with first Shane van Gisbergen, then Nick Cassidy taking the fight to the number 26 car. It would be Cassidy closing in on Roman Rusinov. Rusinov, though, was stalwart in defence, Cassidy getting by just the once before the gearbox said no. The car into the garage and out of the race in the late stages, leaving a cruise to the line and a second consecutive win for the number 26 crew of Roman Rusinov, James French and Leonard Hoogenboom. A great result for Aurus, a great result for G-Drive and a great result for Algarve Pro Racing. There was joyful scenes on the podium once again.
So to the podiums for the 4 hours of the Bend. LMP2 first on top spot. A perfect drive from Roman Rusinov, James French and Leonard Hoogenboom put G-Drive Racing in prime position halfway through the season. In LMP2 AM here, and what a fantastic weekend for Ware Racing. After all the logistical problems in round 1, they delivered a 1-2 finish here and have now got their season truly underway. Here's the LMP3 victory ceremony. 3 teams that look like they will be fighting all the way to the finale in Buriram in February, but taking the win, a flawless drive from Tony Wells and Colin Noble make it a great weekend for Nielsen Racing. Finally, the GT podium, a keenly contested class here at the Bend, but it's all smiles from Cozzolino and his teammates as it looks like Car Guy are back in business this season.
The 4 hours of the Bend is officially over and we had a great time here. Our first race in Australia, and it was something for all of us to remember, of course. It was a day full of incidents, it was full of drama and action-packed, exactly what we had hoped for from the Bend. And of course, not forgetting the beautiful weather here as well. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you have had a great time here in Australia, but it does not end here. This has set us up great for the second half of the season. We will be seeing you once again in Sepang, a circuit we're no stranger to, but we will be adding a little twist. We will be having our first night race for the series there. And then, just a week later, we'll be moving on to the final round in Buriram, Thailand. Fantastic, isn't it? So there's more for you to hang in there and watch the 2019-2020 Asian Le Mans Series. So for now, thank you, Australia. It's been great. See you soon.